Hello everyone, I am Alka1993 and welcome to a Dueling Book duel video. The first one since December 2019. I checked. That's crazy how it's been almost 6 years. I never uploaded Dueling Book much. I've worked on various Yu-Gi-Oh projects and I've always been like, oh, I'm almost ready for the next series, but then I never fully finished them because something got in the way. Anyway, I've played Master Duel a decent bit. I've done Master Duel videos. There's some replays, but never Dueling Book, I guess. Maybe that's why. So, I've been mostly playing Gravekeepers. I have a near exact copy of the Gravekeepers deck from Master Duel. I set some cards because I didn't have a great opening. I'd like to open Necro Valley to disrupt meta decks. Royal Tribute to get rid of a bunch of their monsters. Hand traps, perhaps. And then hopefully even get Supernaturalist out, but that's less likely. The opponent plays Necro Valley. That could still mean anti-meta. Doesn't have to mean they're playing Gravekeepers. It doesn't have to. We play Pot of Desires. I also play Pot of Desires at one copy in this deck. That doesn't have to mean a lot. It doesn't. This still doesn't have to mean they play Gravekeepers. They do have the Millennium Rod, which is cool, but I guess they have Winged Dragon Ra. They have a bunch of experience. I'd get Malefic Cybrand Dragon. I'm thinking, I want to summon that because that's a lot more damage than Recruiter can do. But also, if they then, let's say, take out their Necro Valley to set a new one, or even play a new one, even temporarily, that's a field spell off the field, Cybrand Dragon dies. So I play my own, so that my Malefic Cybrand Dragon has a higher chance of survival. I bring it up. They Solemn Strike it. They take less damage, but with double Necro Valley out, that's 2200 power Gravekeeper's Recruiter now. Nice, like it. They have their Pot of Prosperity. Banish 6. I wish there was not quite a fast forward button, but okay, go into the next play, but I can just like a half speed button, so I can still have time to commentate. So here we get a bit of it. It's not as pure Gravekeepers as they have. They have hand traps. I don't really. They have Kaiju. They have Dogmatic Punishment. They have Super Pulley, which can work in Gravekeepers themselves, but perhaps in other fusions, maybe get a Starving Venom out or something else that they can do with Gravekeepers. But as we'll see a bit later, they actually have more Gravekeepers. They play Necro Valley Throne to use the search. That makes sense. They have their own Recruiter. And they normal summon it. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. They want to crash, search something, get rid of the monster that I have. And I'm thinking, I don't want to give them the search. I don't know what they have exactly. Also, I could almost finish them off. Maybe if I draw into another Gravekeepers, I can do that. I have 2200 attack in the field. They have 2600 life points. Unfortunately, I don't get it. I set 2 new cards to get Allure of Darkness. Hopefully get something out of that. Draw 2 monsters, banish 1, summon the other, finish it off. Unfortunately, the Ash Blossom can't really use it. So I attack him again. 2200, so I need to do 400 damage. A few ways to do that outside of just attacking. Actually, 2 days ago, I made it while I was building this deck on Dueling Book. Based on the one I had at Master Duel, I realized, wait, there's a card that I can put in the extra deck that might, in certain situations, be helpful in the late game to finish off moments like this. I don't play extra deck, use the extra deck much outside of the Gravekeeper Supernaturalist. I don't often summon more than 2 of them per duel. If I even get to 2, usually it's 1. 3 is rare, but I do really want the 3rd. There's a Cybrand Dragon in there to summon Malefic Cybrand Dragon. That's the main ones that I play. I have a copy of Scapegoat in the deck, and that copy of Scapegoat combos well with Power Code Talker, but we'll get to that in a future duel when I decide. Here's Gravekeeper's Commandant, because that is very likely their Recruiter that I know they have in set, so I need something higher stats. However, they have Gozen Match. Commandant is Earth attribute while everything else is dark. So Goes in match, gets in my way. I decide to get rid of Recruiter so that Commandant can still beat their Recruiter. And I get a Search as well. I get Spiritualist for a fusion later on. Hit their Recruiter. They activate and search. Descendant, which is one that I don't run in this deck. And here's I'm saying in the chat, this is one of those few ones where I wish I had Gravekeeper's Curse. One of the classic Gravekeeper's cards. Wasn't really used much. It was just Gravekeeper Spy and Guard mostly that were used from the original releases. Gravekeeper's Curse 800, 800. Level 3 monster. Upon summon, deal 500 damage. Nothing big. Usually not important. But here it would have been enough. I would have searched for Curse. Would have normal summoned instead of Commandant. Would have won. Oh. I am my turn. The opponent plays another set card and plays this. Hidden Temples of Necro Valley. If there's a Gravekeeper and Necro Valley on the field, neither player can special summon monsters except for Gravekeepers. Here I'm like, okay, so what? We both have Gravekeepers. This is not going to affect me whatsoever. Sure, I later realized, okay, Malefic Cyber and Dragon could be summoned, but that's about it. But then I realized, wait. They are actually blocking something, and they're blocking the one thing that I want to summon right now. That's Gaga Cowboy. Rank 4 Xyz monster. If you play it in defense position, you can attach a material, deal 800 damage. It is most commonly used for endgame purposes such as this to just finish the game off. Here I think, oh, I might be able to get it done. Finish them off, but no, they have Rite of Spirit. They summon one from the graveyard. They get the Recruiter. I take him out. They get another Surge off of it. And they get their own Spiritualist. They want to go into the Fusion, into Supernaturalist most likely. I do have Lost Wind sets on my most rightmost zone here. That could really disrupt it. Only works on special summon monsters, so I'll only be able to stop Supernaturalist and nothing else. Can't play it on Spiritualist, unfortunately. The fusion with Commandant, so that's 2,800 plus the double boost, 3,800 each. But I say no with Lost Wind. Negates their effects, which included the attack was from the materials levels. So it's just they're effectively 1,000, 2,000 plus the boost, 2,000, 3,000. So on defense position, they still beat me, which is in a sense smart from them that they played it in defense. Tried to go for the surge, didn't get it. It's permanently negated. I draw another Necro Valley, doesn't really help me. But because of this darn Hidden Temples of Necro Valley, I can't get... I can't play Cowboy. So I'm trying to find a way either past Supernaturalist, which I don't have Kaijus to do it. So I just search for the final Necro Valley, because one, I realize there's one left. And if I draw into another Necro Valley, that's Terraforming dead. I just thinned the deck out a little bit for a slightly higher chance to get the outs that I need. Because there are cards I have that can save me here. And I draw one. Harpy's Feather Duster. Taking out goes in match allowing me to summon more stuff. Potentially going to Supernaturalist. But also it takes out Hidden Temples. Which is key. Now here, Necro Valley survives because of Supernaturalist. While Necro Valley is on the field, this card and any card in your field zone cannot be destroyed by card effects. I forget this for a moment. It comes up in a little bit. Because Lost Winds has negated Supernaturalist, their Necro Valley would have been dead too. Here I summon Gaga Cowboy thinking, yes, I'm going to finish it off now. They have Effect Veiler. Classic. Like the first, I'd say, commonly used hand trap. Pretty sure it was released well before Maxi was. So that didn't work. I'm thinking, oh, I can use it next turn. They have Royal Tribute. I discard Spiritualist. They don't have any other monsters. They play Gravekeeper Steel. And I know what they're going for. They're going for Spiritualist and one other monster. So they take their level 4. This is where we realized their Necro Valley should have been dead. I still have my Necro Valley. They play a new one, so it didn't really matter. Spiritualists, do they fuse with their monster on the field? No, they fuse with the Commandant in hand again to have extra defense. Makes sense. In case I take out one, they still have the other. They will get the search in the end phase now with Supernaturalism. They take out Cowboy, which sucks. And the unfortunate thing about me playing Lost Winds, like, it has helped me in so many cases, but when the opponent special summons something from the extra deck, Lost Wind is allowed to set itself from the graveyard to the spell and trap zone again. But then it's banished when you leave the field. But it effectively allows you to use the card again. However, that doesn't work under Necroval. And here I draw Imperial Tombs right after they search for theirs. Not really great for me because I'm going to take damage, but I realize I have Imperial Tombs. Here I set Necrovalley, which removes one of the boosts from their monsters. I don't have monsters now, they do. They can deal damage. By setting a Necrovalley, I remove my original. They have 500 less power. That's the thought behind it. I have Imperial Tombs. I know they also have Imperial Tombs, which are going to set this turn. Almost certainly. Here I take, is it 33? Nope, I don't, because Drowning Mirror Force. I run 2 Storming, 2 Drowning Mirror Force in this deck. That has to be Imperial Tomb. There would be... I don't see any reason why they wouldn't play Imperial Tombs right here. They get their Search with a Throne so that they can have a Search next turn. They're not committing to something like a Headman or a Descendant or a Spiritualist now. I draw into Drowning Mirror Force. Nah, not great right now. I'd like something that can deal with Supernaturalist, something that can deal damage. There's various things I can do, but I also realize if they play any effect, like this one, a simple search with Necrovalley Throne, I can use Imperial Tombs and Necrovalley, because Imperial Tomb says, when a spell trap card or monster effect is activated while both a Gravekeeper's monster and Necrovalley are on the field, you can stop pretty much any effect activation. Normally, I control the Gravekeepers and the Necrovalley, but it just says a Gravekeeper's monster and Necrovalley are on the field, not your field. The opponent is the one controlling both of them. I can still play my Imperial Tombs. However, knowing they have theirs, if I play mine first, they just negate mine with their Imperial Tombs. So I need to just wait. And using mine now is useless, it just gets rid of theirs. I need to wait, hope I draw something good. They use their Imperial Tombs, not knowing I have mine. I just know they have theirs. They take up my Drowning Mirror Force, which kind of sucks. Now they can deal damage again, 2,000 instead of 2,500. I remember looking into this. This is turn 19 of the duel, and the first time I take damage, which is surprising. I just had the upper hand in the early goings of this duel. I get my Necrovalley Throne. Yes, I can search for something. This can help. I can search for Headman. Headman summon Spiritualist. I can get Supernaturalist. They allow me to do it. They're like, Throne itself isn't dangerous. I'm going to wait until something more dangerous comes out that I really want to stop. Here's Hetman. They stop it here. If they would wait for Spiritualist to come out and stop that, I'd still have Hetman on the field. They stop it with Imperial Tombs. But here's my Imperial Tomb. Me saying in chat, I wish I could have done this before I had a monster out. And they realized the fun of it, because there would have been purely their cards that allowed me to activate this pretty restricted counter trap. I get my Spiritualist. Spiritualist is allowed to fuse while Necrovalley is on the field, not my field. That makes Supernaturalist at 2,700 plus 500 from Necrovalley to 32. And they realize that's who's going to attack the Descendant. I don't have an answer. That was a really fun duel. Just seeing a very similar deck. They have it a bit more ready for the meta in terms of some hand traps like Ash Blossom and Veiler. They have a Kaiju in there. They have Descendant, which I do not. But I did really enjoy this duel. It was super fun just seeing their Necrovalley. I'm like, okay, what is this? This could just be like an anti-meta stun deck. But please let this be Gravekeepers. And they were playing Gravekeepers. Gravekeepers has been my favorite, or one of my favorite decks to play for so long. I like Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game. I still love it. But at the same time, there's part of it that I don't. The current meta, and the meta for years, has been, for me personally, too combo heavy. Too much. You have to play 12 hand traps or something in your deck to be able to compete. Like, did you have something like a Veiler, or maybe like 2 copies of Ash Blossom, whatever, in your deck? I'm okay with that. I feel like that kind of interaction is fine. I was perfectly fine with Veiler existing and maybe a Maxi in like the Synchro era, early XC, stuff like that. But now you have so many more Fuolos. You got your Ash Blossoms. You got your Ghost Ogres. So many more hand traps that are possible. And then even outside of the hand traps, someone plays a turn. They combo this. They summon this. They play a spell card. Summon this. Fusion into this, which summons this, which sends that to the graveyard. Would activate this from the graveyard. A turn takes up to 10 minutes. Even on Master Duel, which is automatic, well, you still choose your cards, but you don't have to manually move all the cards to where they go. Once you've selected, hey, fusion summon, the game knows, oh, they're going to the graveyard. That's faster that way. On Master Duel, still, this takes so long. And I don't like that. I'd like to actually have a chance to play. And even if I interrupt them with something, like with a hand trap, often they can still play. With so many combos, I'm not a fan of that. And then they combo, and have 3 negates on the board. And pass the turn. I'm like, okay, so you played a 10-minute turn. So that I can't play. That you have negates in the field. That you set up and you have a good opening hand. You have an advantage. That by itself is fine. I feel like, for me, the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's way too much of it. And I feel like something I've realized somewhat recently, there's a good amount of cards now that have effects in the graveyard outside of their standard effects. Let's say, Transaction Rollback, I feel like is a relatively commonly used trap that has this. Where it has its own effect in the field, but it has a graveyard effect as well. Like, if it's in the graveyard, but it wasn't the turn that it's entered the grave, you ban it. Like, you do an effect, you banish it, you return it, whatever. There are a few cards that do that. I am fine with, but there are so many cards that have that, especially spells and traps. It's not just, oh, spell this, search, or fusion summon, but like, oh, next turn, I can banish this card from the grave and pay the 500 life points to get another search. It's basically a second spell in the spell. Which helps with consistency with decks. It is, let's say it's a fusion, it's like a polymerization for a specific archetype, plus something like a reinforcements of the army for that archetype. And like the fusion summon is first, and then the banish for the search is the next turn. It helps with the consistency of the deck. It makes it better, helps it compete with other decks. But then the other decks in the future are going to one-up that, and one-up that, and one-up that, and it's going to go nuts. If you love that style of play, if you like the challenge that makes, you like reacting to the shifting meta, if you like the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh!, I love that for you. You're allowed to do that. I'm happy for you, and I still support Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game. I'm just saying that personally, I don't choose to... Like, I don't enjoy that kind of play for myself. That's one of the reasons why I like Gravekeepers. It's not super complicated. Some small combos, and that's about it. And the nice thing about it, with Necro Valley especially, it stops that banishing from the graveyard, summoning something back from the graveyard kind of play. So a good amount of meta decks, or near meta decks, just purely with Necro Valley on the field, they can't do much of their plays. Maybe it stops all of them, but it stops a good amount. And then if I happen to also get rid of some of the cards in their hand with Royal Tributes, or I happen to play Hidden Temples, which is usually not something I'm able to play early game, like stopping their special summons, then that completely locks them. Then I can actually win against meta decks with something that definitely isn't. So being able to one-up the meta decks with something a lot simpler makes me feel a bit accomplished, I guess. Well, that's a lot of talk. I was here for the duel. I guess I went on a bit of a rant, I suppose. If you'd like to see more Dueling Book duels, please let me know in the comments. I'm interested a little bit in doing more, but it requires me to have a good rated duel, and a lot of the times I feel like I don't, because there's a lot of cards I still don't fully understand. And now being more used to Master Duel in recent years, that's a lot easier to get used to, because the opponent can do their play. I can just read while they think about the next play. And just, it's... And I can be sure that whatever they're doing isn't cheating. Now, I'm not saying that every opponent I have has the intent to cheat, even if they make a mistake. But I did duel someone, I think, yesterday, where I was unfamiliar with a lot of their cards, and they said, I know you don't have a response. Just let me play. Because maybe they thought they knew what one card I had in my hand due to an earlier search or something. But I did want to at least have a few seconds to read their cards to make sure what they did. To, one, know what to expect. Maybe later on when it was my turn again, know how to play around and not have to read everything then. But also to make sure that they weren't cheating. That they weren't misusing my lack of knowledge of their cards. And I feel like I should be at least allowed a few seconds to read their cards. They weren't too happy with that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you always remember that you are worth it. Goodbye.